to another edition of Coastline, and we're in an interesting building today. We've talked about fire prevention and some of the various fire departments around Beaufort County over the last few years, but we're taking you today to a place you normally don't get to see, and we're joined by Captain Lee Levesque of the Bluffton Township Fire District. Lee, good to see you today.
You as well, sir. Thank you very much for letting us partake in today's event.
Well, I appreciate your showing us your maintenance and training facility on Ulmer Road. Relatively new building. Within the last 18 months you've built this, and the last time you and I had spoken, some exciting things had happened. Your folks out here may not realize, but a lot of the way that our homeowners insurance is rated is by how well rated a fire department is, and the Bluffton Township Fire District about 18 months, 2 years ago, had just come from a number 4 rating out of 10 being the worst, to a number 3 rating, and there's only like 3 or 4 number 1s in the entire state. And you are coming up on another inspection from the powers that be, and if all goes well, you might get to a number 2 rating.
Absolutely. Well, we're working towards a number 2, and it is our hope. There are many criteria, and of course, no control over the grading process do we have beyond the fact that we just put our best foot forward. But surely, anybody who wants to improve the service that they provide is working towards the next up, whatever that is. In our case, it is a Category 2 rating through the insurance companies. So we want to make sure that we do everything we can to get there, and that's what we're collectively as an agency working towards.
And one of the things that you've done towards that end is you have built a burn building behind this training center. Formerly you would have to go to Columbia or another location where you can take all of your cadets and your regular firefighters and run them through the rigors that you would like to do every so often. Now you have the opportunity to just do it at whim whenever the fancy strikes.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you that there's so much benefit, and these facilities are so few and far between across our state, but across the United States. The training facility we have here on site. In the past, again, we had to take our people out and our equipment, the fire trucks, out of our district, out of where we've sworn to protect. Surely it wouldn't reduce our service level, but it would cost time and money that we didn't necessarily want to spend, but it was necessary to spend in the context that we're required not only to originally learn how to be a firefighter, but every year we're required by law certain amounts of continuing education, much like any other profession. In order to accomplish that, training during the daylight hours, during the nighttime hours, training on how to run our vehicles, how to lead our people, all requirements under various grading agencies that we are sanctioned under. And to that end, we have to be creative on how to make that happen. The good news in the last 18 months, give or take a month or two, we've been able to do that right here in our own backyard, saving time and money and keeping everybody here in the event that something, God forbid, were to happen. We had everybody here ready to help.
That's fantastic. And you know, we call it a burn building, but it's a multi-purpose building really, because aside from you know, setting a fire of various sorts and responding to it, I know that our director, Scott, was trying to get me to take a dead weight body over my shoulder and run up the building, which is nothing I'm going to do today, I assure you that. But that's also a component of your overall training process, right?
Absolutely. Physical training, just trying to make sure that we try and stay as physically fit as we possibly can for the call, but so many uses for this building. Besides burning, there's a component where we can rappel off of there for special high or low angle rescues. Our law enforcement friends who we partner with all the time love to bring their canines over and search and do those kinds of training things that they're required to do. And of course, any animal gets familiar with their surroundings. If you take them into that training building 500 times that one, they're going to familiarize themselves. Well, here's a new opportunity for them to kind of change up the scenes and keep their tools, if you will, sharp and ready to rock.
I like the way you call them our law enforcement friends. There used to be, years ago, there used to be this conflict between police and fire departments, but that's not evident here at all.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, not from around here where I come from in the Northeast, there still remains some of that over esprit de corps, as I like to refer to it, where they just don't get along. But I'll tell you, we are so lucky in the Low Country and the Coastal Empire to be just blessed with great working relationships amongst all of our service agencies, police, fire, EMS, and we hope that those that we serve see a seamless service when it comes time for them to call us, even though we hope they never have to call us, let's just be honest.
Well, I hope, and I'm assuming that a lot of that camaraderie that you get comes from the fact that they come to visit you regularly, because this is the maintenance facility for not only these great fire trucks, but also some of the public safety vehicles.
Absolutely.
And it's really amazing when you consider the amount of money that you could possibly be saving by having in-house personnel that are well trained, well versed to deal with almost every component of every vehicle, as well as other equipment like the Jaws of Life, I think you had mentioned.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, we have great working relationships with the town of Bluffton. We handle all of their machines, be it the dump trucks to the small vehicles to the pickup trucks for their maintenance and all that goodness. Also, their law enforcement vehicles come to us as well for maintenance here at the Bluffton Township Fire District Maintenance Yard. In addition, we've recently partnered with Technical College of the Low Country and their CDL driver's license, big rigs license. We're actually maintaining their big rigs through that program here. And we look to expand that even further. We know that we can help other agencies save money, and in return we get those partnerships. And Lord knows you can't raise a child without a community, you can't fight a fire, you can't keep people safe without a community effort. So the opportunity to partner with everybody and anybody in community service for our fire agency is absolutely paramount. Surely one of the keystones of the leadership team in our agency, Chief Thompson and his assistant chiefs, deputy chiefs. Absolutely, very important for us to work together with a whole lot of folks for no other purpose than the fact of making sure that we can provide the best doggone service we can.
Yeah. Well, aside from the maintenance component of it, your fire district has also been able to raise the level of service while not raising the taxes that are associated usually with more and increased services.
Absolutely. As everybody I'm sure is well aware, Bluffton is very desirable, and Beaufort County in general, from the north end to the south end, irrelevant. Folks want to be here, and because of that influx, there's more people paying into the coffers, if you will. There's impact fees and things that are brought with the commercial properties that come through. So with some great leadership, both at the county and the community levels, surely in the agency levels, police, fire, and EMS, we've been able to make many changes to keep up with the infrastructure necessities that additional folks require.
And I think you mentioned that you've gotten 10 fire trucks. These are beautiful and in great shape.
Absolutely.
Are these relatively new?
They are. I'm going to tell you within the last 12 to 18 months, and forgive me off the top of my head, I think it was October of 2016, I think we took delivery of 10 brand new trucks, replacing the whole fleet with barely a hiccup in your tax bill in the context of how that goes. Impact fees from all the new commercial construction that went on in our communities paid the lion's share of that improvement. What that does is bring those vehicles up to current day standards, where the old ones, while they were absolutely safe for us to use, they didn't meet the current standards as those standards continually change. So many benefits of having a unified fleet of vehicles for us to provide service beyond just the traditional looking great and all those greatnesses. Maintenance can now stock parts for one truck and it serves them all. So a tire, for example, we know that tires wear out. We know they're going to have to be replaced. In the past, we had multiple manufacturers and multiple size and shape vehicles. So we had to wait and see what it was necessary to order based on what came in to the maintenance shop. Nowadays, that's not necessarily the case. We can plan ahead and know that XYZ tire will fit all the vehicles that we're running. So there's a great benefit in that. Just as a simplified example, that be. But totally, it works out very well for the service of our firefighters.
Sure. And I've lived here off and on since 1983, and when I first came, I remember going to Hilton Head, and 278 was just a 2-lane road, and Bluffton was comprised nothing more than the Old Town section. You know, it was pretty much the tail of the dog, if you will, but now it looks like the tail is wagging the dog in Bluffton.
I love that. That's awesome.
So you're covering not only the traditional Bluffton Old Town, but how far out are you guys stretching?
Absolutely. The Bluffton Township Fire District protects 246 square miles. When you come south of the Broad River, as soon as you cross the big bridge and you touch ground, well, some of that is Port Royal, in and out. There's different spots in there that the town of Port Royal is, and we have a great partnership with those great folks as well. You begin where we protect. We cover all the way to that bridge as part of some agreements that we've entered into with Port Royal and others, and of course there's unincorporated Beaufort County up there that we protect as well.
So you're covering parts of Okatee, I know there's a Kalawasi Fire Department.
Absolutely.
Does that fall under your?
That is our first station as you're coming south on 170. Our first fire station is the Kalawasi Fire Station right at the front gate to Kalawasi. We cover Kalawasi and Spring from there, as well as all the way over to the Broad River Bridge and then back down towards Oldfield. Before you pick up our secondary station, which is the back gate of Sun City, we'll cover 170 up to Oldfield.
So you're also covering Sun City?
Absolutely. The larger lion's share, if you will, of the ground of Sun City is in Beaufort County and protected by the Bluffton Fire District. There is a part of it on the north side of 278 that is in Jasper County in the town of Hardyville. Great working relationship with those folks as well. The other half is we go all the way down to the New River and the New River Bridge on the back way to Savannah. We cover all the way down through there with our fire station and all of Palmetto Bluff, which is far to the south at that end. And believe it or not, there's some properties on Hilton Head Island that we protect as in the town of Bluffton, such as Windmill Harbor. You go across the two bridges and the first plantation on your right is Windmill Harbor. It's actually part of the town of Bluffton Fire District. We protect them as well.
And that's covered by which station?
We have a fire station at Moss Creek right there. Forgive me.
Yeah, so just at the
The
bridge.
name of the street, yes sir.
Yeah.
I can't off the top of my head.
Just by the Bridge Center.
Absolutely. And we work again on that end with a great working relationship with our colleagues at Hilton Head Fire. So again, it takes the village. It truly takes the village to provide awesome service that all of our region has the benefit to call our own, the service that we provide. And we hope that folks are proud of what we can provide them. And we look forward to making it even better.
Well, you wear many hats here at the Bluffton Township Fire District. Aside from being the PR person, media relations, you also are one of 4 fire inspectors. If arson is suspected or if questionable fire takes place, you or 3 of your colleagues will go and figure out what caused it, right?
Absolutely. I'm a proud member of our Fire Marshal's Division here at the Bluffton Township Fire District. Primarily my function being, as you mentioned, outreach. However, there are 4 of us that constitute that. 2 actual fire inspectors that will go business to business on a daily basis, their primary function, and our fire marshal who oversees all of us. But the 4 of us are certified nationally as fire investigators. And in the event of a fire, we absolutely are intent on making sure we understand how it started. Regardless of accidental or intentional, there are many ways to prevent a fire, many ways fires can start. Without us understanding what it is that caused the fire, we can't prevent the unknown. So if we know that maybe, overuse of extension cords is the cause of a fire, maybe we can do some education component that lets folks know, hey, pay attention to these cords. Recently there's been a rash of fires associated with those.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that you do as far as inspecting businesses and causes of fires, and also the fact that you've got an amazing training facility here. You're going to be graduating how many this coming week?
Forgive me, I think it is 19.
19 firefighters. So we'll get to that all in just a second. But first, we're going to break.
Don't let a fun day on the water turn into a tragic event. Play it safe by following all the boating and water safety rules. First, check the weather and let someone know where you are going. Make sure everything is in good working order on your boat. You should have a fire extinguisher, navigation lights, flares, and life jackets. South Carolina law states children 12 and under must wear a life jacket. There must be 1 life jacket for each person on the boat, readily available and in good condition. Make sure your life jackets are the appropriate size, especially for children. The consequences can be deadly if a child falls overboard and does not have a life jacket that fits properly. Remember, life jackets can save your life. Wear them. Nobody expects to have an accident. Even the safest, most competent boat operator can't predict what other boaters will do. A boat speeding by can create a wake that easily can tip a smaller boat. If you are in the smaller boat, you could find yourself in the water. That's why it's important for children to stay seated while boating. Sometimes mechanical things go wrong with your boat, or bad weather comes up, or you hit a submerged object. The point is, you can't control everything when you are on the water. If you are wearing your life jacket and have learned some safety rules, you will be more prepared to handle just about anything that might happen. Don't let a fun day turn to tragedy.
We are the Beaufort County Safety Education Team, and we're saying get set and get safe.
Well, we're back, and we made some changes. I was not expecting this, but I'm thrilled that we actually got to come into the back of a, what is this called, a tanker?
Working fire engine.
A working fire engine. And I mean, this is really cool. I was kind of disappointed I wasn't going to be in the driver's seat, but the back is amazing as well. These seats in which we're sitting, first of all, I was telling you, I don't know that I'd ever want to leave the truck to go fight the fire. It is comfortable. The seat has a breakout section so that the fire person automatically straps this on and he can leave with his air tank behind him, it looks like.
Absolutely.
And there are so many gadgets here, I feel like I'm in the Starship Enterprise. Aside from the front there, that it looks like you need to have an aeronautical degree to figure out what everything is. There's some really cool equipment here. That thing in the middle there, is that the one that controls the traffic lights?
Well, we do have an Opticon system, and yes, that is part and parcel to it. What that does is allows, only when our lights are on, the red lights on top and our sirens are activated, that allows that machine to tell the traffic lights wherever we are in southern Beaufort County there's an emergency vehicle approaching. And what it does, it gives us green and it turns red to the other direction so that we may pass through there. Having said that, don't be amazed even with a green light if you see a fire truck stop at an intersection. Oftentimes a driver wants to make sure that everybody is right. Mm-hmm. Yes, we want to get there quickly, but more importantly, we want to get there safely.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, on the way over here there was an emergency vehicle, and I think a lot of people have forgotten that we're supposed to actually pull over to the side of the road when an emergency vehicle with its lights on.
Absolutely. Pull to the right and slow. In South Carolina, we ask that you pull to the right and stop. The unfortunate truth, many folks will either take the median, which, believe it or not, that is where we go.
Right.
Emergency vehicles should always move to the left when they have lights and sirens, given the opportunity. Unfortunately, many a times folks will park in our lane of travel, be it the median or otherwise, so we're forced to go to the right, which puts us in an awkward and sometimes unsafe position for us. We're not comfortable with that.
Sure.
So folks absolutely would remember, slow and to the right. And then if you're approaching folks that are emergency services, whether it be fire, police, EMS on the side of the road, the law requires you to change a lane away from them and to slow down again. And that becomes particularly important on 278 and 170, the multi-lane highways that we have here in Beaufort County, particularly the southern end. Give us some emergency space to work. We promise we'll get out of your way as soon as we can, and we understand fully what imposition we are to you. But it's very critical that we have the opportunity and the space to do what we can, and I promise we'll get out of there as quickly as we can.
And getting to the location is prime, and one of our producers was telling me that your little GPS unit is a lot more sophisticated than what I've got in my car.
Well, it can be, and I'll tell you, we're very fortunate we can meld a traditional GPS with what is known in our county mapping, and Beaufort County does a phenomenal job with the various mapping systems that they have. So between talking to someone who has a map in front of them, our dispatchers, the GPS systems we have here in the truck, and as also our knowledge of our roads, I will tell you, a firefighter spends a great deal of time, believe it or not, learning and memorizing where the roads are, where the hydrants are. So before we leave the fire station, we know which road we're headed towards. We know there's a fire hydrant at house 123 on Main Street, so we know if there's a fire at 124 where the hydrant is. So yes, many layers of ways to get there. Having said that, there's always a caveat, isn't there always? In this particular case, believe it or not, federal law requires every house to have a number visible from the street.
Yeah.
And everywhere in Beaufort County that I've known, that I talked to fire services and emergency services, not all are following that regulation. It's important that you be able to see at least 3 inches tall and 2 inches wide the number that is your house. We can always tell where Main Street is.
Yeah,
We might not be able to
preferably
find
reflective.
one. Absolutely. Set up what we call opposing colors. If you have a white house, don't put white letters, please.
Yeah.
Make them black, and vice versa. Black house, make white letters. If that makes any sense.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe even put it on your mailbox. So
Absolutely.
and
Visible by the street.
Some people actually, if they've got a concrete gutter or a sidewalk, they will actually have it painted on their. So you want to get that guy who's going to save your house in there as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, so much to talk about. One of the exciting things that you guys have been working on are the defibrillator devices.
Absolutely.
And you've, if anybody hasn't seen them, you can go to any major business in town and see there's this pack, and it has been proven to be a lifesaver for people who may be having a cardiac event, right?
Absolutely. Well, anybody who remembers the TV of old, I know when I was growing up, they used to have the paddles and they put Vaseline between them and rub them and shock somebody on the chest. Well, just like our
Clear?
phones, exactly, just like our phones that used to hang on the wall with the long cord, they're now fitting in our pocket. Those machines have become small and they have become absolutely user-friendly compared to what they used to be. And we are absolutely working with a phenomenal group of folks called the Arrhythmia Alliance, a nonprofit trying to get it started. It's huge in Europe right now, but they're starting from Hilton Head, working with Bluffton Fire and Hilton Fire, and moving westward in the United States. Great partnership with those folks. Just this morning, they gave us 5 brand new AEDs to put out into the public. We have currently some at every boat ramp in southern Beaufort County in the Bluffton Response District. We just last week put one up at the, the island on the way to Hilton Head there, the preserve. We worked with the National Wildlife Organization to put that out there. So they're popping up everywhere. We hope that you will one day see them on every street corner. And along those lines, and along with that comes some training and understanding. And here in Bluffton, not only do we respond to fires, but we'll teach you how to do CPR and how to work an AED.
Yeah.
Just check us out on our website at blufftonfd.com.
Blufftonfd.com. Okay, and the exciting thing about these things is that I've gone through that training, and it really kind of talks to you.
Absolutely.
At least the unit I worked with tells me, okay, you got to do this. Place the unit on the chest, okay, and do a countdown, whatever, and it just kind of walked you through it.
Forgive the expression, I like to tell folks when I'm training them, it's firefighter proof. At 2 o'clock in the morning, it's all I can do to remember which pocket to put which foot to make sure I have pants on when I come to help folks.
Sure.
So along those lines, if at 2 o'clock in the morning I can make that work, I'm sure that everybody else is smart enough to make them work. It's just a matter of turning it on and listening to the voices, looking at the pictures, and following directions that it gives you. It's very simple, and it absolutely makes the difference between life and death for many folk on every day.
Now, until you get one of these AED units into every locale in town, you mentioned that you also, this was the third hat that you wear, you also are responsible, along with some other folks, in giving CPR classes.
Absolutely. We here in Bluffton host 4 CPR classes a month in our fire station. Those are regular on our website. You can look at those and see how to enroll if you're interested. We're also able to deliver in your home or in your place. If you have 5 or more friends that would like to learn CPR and you call us, we'll set a day and a time to come and teach you where you're comfortable. It is such a critical life skill that we're committed to making sure that everybody knows AEDs, familiar with those machines, but also how to do CPR to accompany it.
Seconds count, and even though you can get to a location in just minutes, it only takes 8 minutes of oxygen deprivation before you're
4 to 6 minutes, and the brain begins to have permanent damage and potentially death.
Yeah.
The unfortunate truth of the brain is once that damage begins, there's no reversing.
Yeah. So, as I recall, clear the tongue out of the mouth, and then start chest compressions. And
chest compressions are absolutely critical. 2 inches deep and 100 times a minute is our goal.
Okay.
But hey, come spend some time with us at the fire station. We'll teach you all about it.
All right, sounds good. Speaking of teaching, one of the things that we mentioned earlier is that this is also a training facility, and you've got about 19 folks that are going to be graduating in the coming day or two. And what have they had to go through? First of all, if they, from day one, they thought, gosh, I'd like to be a fireman.
Absolutely, and I will tell you it varies around the United States, but here in the Low Country, it's traditionally a traditionally easy process to follow.
And we don't call them firemen anymore,
firefighters, absolutely, because young ladies get to grow up to be firefighters too. But recruits or people that are interested in becoming a firefighter just follow a fire department, figure out their policy. Traditionally, it is an application process. It also includes thereafter, the next step would be a physical agility to make sure that you can physically be the firefighter. And we want to make sure that that's able to be done. Some folks underestimate perhaps the physicality of what it is that we do. After that, there's going to be an interview process and make sure that you're comfortable with us, we're comfortable with you, and then becomes hey, we're going to hire you, or you're going to be able to come be a volunteer firefighter with us, and we're going to put you through the training. Traditionally, in the past, we'd send folks up to Columbia to the State Fire Academy. It was an 8-week process. Folks were away from their families every night. They would stay in dorms up there for the duration of the weeks, with a few visits back on the weekends. We found that we can train folks easier who are closer to home with their own support network. So being able to do that here in Bluffton, not just for our people, but this particular class that graduates this Friday, has folks from Hardeeville, Ladies Island Fire Districts, and others that are going through the same process our firefighters in Bluffton are right here. They get to go home to their families at night, spend weekends at home studying and doing what they need to do.
And one of the things that we talked about to try and lower your or improve your rating is that aside from having the burn building, you also, instead of giving an 8-week course, you give a 10-week training.
Absolutely. We've extended our week to 10 plus. In some cases, it's 11 weeks. We add some additional training components that we think that firefighters can benefit from, as opposed to waiting later in their career to take them. We front load, if you will, all the high intensity training that they should have a good foundation to start their career with. And we hope in the long term that pays huge dividends in longer serving firefighters, not just for us, but whomever attends our academies. So absolutely dedicated to making sure some really great trained folks leave out of here ready to serve no matter where they serve.
And you talk about it being a career and a training track, and because you never stop learning, do you?
Absolutely not. 29 years now I've been in this wonderful job, and I will tell you, I learn stuff new every day, and if I don't, that's going to be the time that I retire. I will tell you, constant continuing education, new ways of doing business. I can't tell you how many times we talked about CPR, that it has changed in the 29 years that I've been learning.
Sure. And the equipment has changed. We were talking about when you started, you lived in a canopy-less truck, so if it was raining outside, you'd get wet. And now, I mean, this is climate controlled, and it's got all the bells and whistles you could ever hope for.
Absolutely. Well, and as things change, we have to change with them. So if we're not staying up with that education, if we're not keeping our eye on the horizon in our profession, then we're not going to be able to provide the service that we absolutely strive to provide those that we protect.
One last thing.
Please.
For businesses that, you mentioned that you go to businesses and you do inspections. What's that all about?
Absolutely.
We've got about a minute.
Well, I'll tell you, the law requires that every business in a community be inspected at least once fire safe a year. By doing so, that lowers that business's insurance rating and how much they have to pay. So that huge benefit to folks for that. It also pays dividends for us in that rating for our fire service. Without doing that, they pay more insurance, we get a lesser rating. It doesn't work good for anybody. So absolutely want to see folks. We want to just make sure they're fire safe. We're not looking to penalize anybody. We're looking to work with them to make sure our community as a whole is fire safe.
All right, Lee Levesque, we could have gone on for another hour or so. Captain of the Bluffton Township Fire District, and lots of things going on here, more than we could have even covered. So give me that web address again.
Absolutely, www.blufftonfd.com, and we'd love to see folks even stopping by the fire station, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, maybe they'll let you sit in the fire truck.
That'd
Cool.
be awesome.
All right, that's the show for this month. We'll see you again on Coastline next time.
The County Channel is also available on video on demand. Go to bcgov.net, click on the County Channel logo, and select your program from the list. If you would like a DVD of this program, click DVD order form from the County Channel main page and fill out an order form.